ಶರಣಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು. ವೀರಶೈವ ಸಮಾಜದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸದಸ್ಯರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರಿಗೂ ಈ ವಿ3 VSNA ವಿಚಾರ ವೇದಿಕೆಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಡ್ತಿರೋರು ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ರಾಜಗೋಳಿ ಅವರು. ಈಗ ಓಂ ಶಾಂತಿ ಮುಂದೆ ವಚನ ಹೇಳಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಓ ಓ ಓ ಓಂ ನಮಃ ಶಿವಾಯ. ಓಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ಬಸವಲಿಂಗಾಯ ನಮಃ. ಓಂ ನಮಃ ಶಿವಾಯ. ಓಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ಬಸವಲಿಂಗಾಯ ನಮಃ. ಓಂ ನಮಃ ಶಿವಾಯ. ಓಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ಬಸವಲಿಂಗಾಯ ನಮಃ. ಶರಣಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ವಚನ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ತರಬೇಕು ಅಂತಿರೋದು ಅಕ್ಕ ಮಹಾದೇವಿಯವರ ವಚನ. ತೆರಣಿಯ ಹುಳು ತನ್ನ ಸ್ನೇಹದಿಂದ ಮನೆಯ ಮಾಡಿ, ತೆರಣಿಯ ಹುಳು ತನ್ನ ಸ್ನೇಹದಿಂದ ಮನೆಯ ಮಾಡಿ, ತನ್ನ ನೂಲು ತನ್ನನೆ ಸುತ್ತಿ ಸಾವಂತೆ, ತನ್ನ ನೂಲು ತನ್ನನೆ ಸುತ್ತಿ ಸಾವಂತೆ, ಮನ ಬಂದುದನು ಬಯಸಿ ಬೇವುತ್ತಿದ್ದೆನಯ್ಯ, ಎನ್ನ ಮನದ ದುರಾಶೆಯ ಮಾಣಿಸಿ ನಿಮ್ಮತ್ತ ತೋರ ಚನ್ನಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನ. ನೋಡಿ, ಅಕ್ಕ ಮಹಾದೇವರದು ಬಹಳ ಪುಟ್ಟದಾದಂತ ವಚನ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ತಟ್ಟುತ್ತೆ. ನಾವು ಒಂದು ತೆರಳಿ ಹುಡುತರ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಭಾವನೆಗಳು, ನಮ್ಮ ಆಸೆಗಳ ಮಧ್ಯ ಸಿಲುಕಿಕೊಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನವನ್ನ ನಾವು ನಶ್ವರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ರಾಜಗೋಳಿ ಅವರು ಬಹಳ ಹತ್ತಿರವಾದವರು. ನಮ್ಮ ಹುಬ್ಬಳ್ಳಿಯ BV ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಓದಿ ಆಗ ಹುಬ್ಬಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲೇ ಮತ್ತು ಹಾಡದಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯಾಸಂಗ ಮಾಡಿ ಈಗ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು IT ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ಲು ವೃತ್ತಿಯಿಂದ, ಆದರೆ ಜ್ಞಾನದಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ವಚನಗಳನ್ನ ಭಂಡಾರವನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ತೆರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇಷ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು, ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ನಿಮ್ದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಈಗ ನೀವು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡು.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ಬಸವ ಲಿಂಗಾಯ ನಮಃ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಶರಣಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು. Why this topic? It's a common understanding and belief that the Vachanas advocated by Sharanas are only about bhakti, is our understanding, right? So about bhakti, emancipation of poverty in society. So that is the understanding about the Vachanas and all. And we normally say that it is that highlighting the Shiva as a supreme god, opposition of Vedic practices, etc., etc. But you see, these Vachanas, which convey the beauty of our pure Kannada language, born from the life experience of working class, Kayaka Jeevikalu, also contain ideas about science and technology. So today, in this program, I would like to just peep into some of those Vachanas. At first, I thought that this might be like searching for needle in a haystack. Banimi olaga on suji hudikidanga anta heli. But when I started collecting scriptures, Vachanas related to the subject, I found many Vachanas, which is quite interesting. You know, these Vachanas, when we start looking into it, it all, is like the curious things are happening. So Vachanakars also looked into that. So they talk, they looked into that. How was the world born? How did sun, moon, earth, star come into existence? Curious about the Pancha Mahabhutas. Curious about biodiversity. As it was with Pandits, it was also with Sharanas. See, what has happened in the earlier ages, that the learnings or the studying things and all were part of some section of the society, but rest of the section of the society used to serve them, or they were not allowed to do. But in case of Vachanas and the Vachanakars, but that is the greatness of Basava philosophy, or Basava Kranti, Kalyana Kranti, or Sharana Kranti, because everybody from all walks of the life involved in this. Okay, and these Sharanas, what they have written about any topic you take, without questioning it, they never used to accept it. See, all the Vachanas composed on the basis of spirituality do not have the original intention of teaching about science and technology. It was not their original intention. But when we study them deeply, the scientific spirit of Sharanas surprises us. Definitely, yes. When you look at outside, you may not get the meaning of that or get the feeling of that. But when you go in depth and understand and try to dig out, then you'll come to know, oh, he's talking about the Shiva, the Linga, the activities of the Kayaka Jivis. But there is a saying, or there is a message which is linked to science and technology. So they all, in their Vachanas, that all taught us about the astronomy. They talk about astronomy, evolution of life, geography, geology, physics, chemistry, botany, geology, and medicine also. Psychology they talk about, agriculture, etc. So whatever the science and technology topics or science and technology streams are there nowadays, all the areas, one or two Vachanas, we may get many Vachanas in some cases. So they have mentioned this into their Vachanas. And that too how? They have first understood it and they felt it, anubhava. And then they wrote in a pure Kannada, which everybody can understand, most of the people can understand, in the simple words. It's found that, the Vachanas is so easy that even common people can understand. That's the greatness of Vachanas. Samskrita was the main language in the earlier ages, where it was for few people who can understand, who can go to the schools and understand. But all the people, the common people, were talking the different language, the Dravidian language, the Hindi, or the other Marathi, and all those things. But in this Vachanakars, that Kranti, what has happened? They, Vasavanna and others, they allowed the people to express their views in their own sentences, in their own language, in the Kannada, like that. So that is the greatness of Vachanakars, and they have written all these Vachanas, and now we can understand that in an easy language. So they expose the inner views of science on the basis of spirituality. At the outset, it is spirituality, but when you go in depth, it talks about the science and technology. So they talk about God's existence, which is kind of a high end subject. Cosmic energy or divine particles, they talk about that. Evolution of life, they talk about. Astronomy, they have given. They have mentioned in many Vachanas. They talk about botany, geology. They talk about food science. And nowadays, what we're talking about, the food science and the prescription by the doctor about the how to eat food, what to eat, what not to eat. So that in their Vachanas, they have mentioned. And the textile technology, what we talk now, also they have mentioned in some of the Vachanas. And the agriculture, of course, it's a kind of a common man's kayaka, or the activity. But about that also, they have mentioned about how to do and what to do and what not to do. Irrigation, chemistry, environment. So we can keep on naming many areas of science and technology. And in this one, I have selected very few of the areas, and I try to explain one by one, or try to at least we are all understand that what is the meaning of it. So it's about so here God's existence, and also. So here I don't want to get into the debate, what God's existence, whether it's a he or she or whatever like that. So I don't want to get into that. But the Vachanas we have selected, and see, in the Vachanas they talk about that, the avudondu roopanu kangalu kanavu. See, eyes can only perceive a particular form of object, but God is formless. They said, and in their Vachanas in those days, 12th century only, avudondu shabdava kivigalu kelavu. We can, our human ears can be heard, that 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, and even ultrasound also we can't hear. But God is beyond that, they tell. Avudondu parinama manavaredu. So you can't feel that, God is beyond that. And the ruchi, the avudondu ruchi, a jiveri adu, which you can have the ruchi, the sourness or the sweet or salt things. Beyond that, there is something that is God, what they talk about, right? And God has touchless feelings. This one panchendriya, that is touch. When it's touched through the skin, you can feel it. But here they talk, and that God is beyond that. Yellaraliya ariva mahagana nirala niranjana niramaya niramayatitava aruvaryaru apramana kodala sangam deva. So God is beyond that, but there is God. They said about God, what is God, and how we can feel that God is beyond, because is beyond all these things they mentioned in their Vachanas, right? Lord, you are there, and beyond our sensory organs, you are there. Then, see, normally our feeling or our understanding about God and Goddess is that God is in such a form. Shiva means he is wearing the vibhuti. He has got 3 eyes. And when he opens the 3rd eye, the fire will come out. And he is having the Damaruga, he is having the Trishula, and he lives in Himalayas, and his vehicle is a old bull, like that. And you talk about Sri Shakti or any other Vishnu, Brahma, all these things. So that we perceive the God or goddesses through certain understanding of the drawings or the murti, the murtis and also. Now, here, what Vachanakaras have told about God and God's existence is that Ambigara Chaudhaya, he says that Asurara Malegalilla. Normally, we perceive Shiva or like saying that Asurara Malayan, he is wearing the garlands of demons, no trident Damaruga. He said, Trishula Damaruga Villa. Brahma Kapala Villa, Bhashma Bhushananalla, Vrashaba Vahananalla, ಋಷಿಗಳೊಡನೆ ಇದ್ದಾತನಲ್ಲ ಎಸಗುವ ಸಂಸಾರದ ಕರುಹಿಲ್ಲದಾತಂಗೆ ಹೆಸರಾವುದಿಲ್ಲವೆಂದ ನಂಬಿಗರ ಚೌಡಯ್ಯ. See, we perceive God in this form. But according to Vachanakaras, according to Shivasharanas, what's God or God existence is that, he is not having the garland of demons, and the Damaruga is not there, and Brahma Kapala, it's not there. Kapala is Shiva had chopped the 5th head of Brahma, right? He's not applying the bhasma on the body, not sitting on the old ox or a bull, not even with sages. Then who is that? You are the one who don't have any beingness. You don't have a particular name. You are the one beyond all of this. Beyond all of this, there is something that is God. So that is God, is what the Ambigara Chaudhaya. Ambigara Chaudhaya is a person whose kayaka is to help the people to cross the river, right? Ambigara Chaudhaya. So he talks about the God's existence and what kind of a God he is thinking of. This is the way of understanding of a common people. Okay, these are the common people who perceive, who felt the God in these forms. See, such amazing things they have done, right? So then similarly, the cosmic energy, talk about cosmic energy or the divine particles, like them. This is what Ediyur Siddlinga Shivayogi, he has mentioned. Look at that sentence, the formation of words, the sentences, and their understanding. See, ಅದ್ಭುತದ ಆಕಾಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಶುಭ್ರ ವರ್ಣದ ಅಂಗಣೆ ವಿದ್ಯುರ್ಲತೆಯ ಹಡೆದಾಳು ನೋಡ, ವಿದ್ಯುರ್ಲತೆಯ ಬೆಳಗಿನಿಂದ ಶುದ್ಧ ಪ್ರಸಾದವ ಕೊಂಡು ಶುದ್ಧಾಶುದ್ಧವ ನುಡಿದು ನೀನೆಂಬುದ ಹೊದ್ದದ್ದೇ ಎರಡಡಿದ ನಿರಾಳ ನೀನೇ ಮಹಾಲಿಂಗ ಗುರು ಶಿವಸಿದ್ದೇಶ ಪ್ರಭುವೆ. See, in people who can understand with their own language, they have written, a white courtyard in the world, in a wonderful sky, gave birth to lightning bolt. Vidyurlate. That's the origin of cosmic energy. See, if they talk about cosmic energy and then in those days, people may not understand it, right? Then how they have explained so that everybody can understand. So this is the words they have used, this is the sentence they have used. And that is the origin of cosmic energy. That means I belong to you. You are so relaxed. So you are there and you're relaxed. Mahalinga Guru. Sometimes, I feel very difficult to translate all the vachanas. But you have to go just not by just translating it, but you have to feel the meaning of that. What they felt is amazing. I can tell it. Then they talk about evolution of life. Channa Basavanna, he says, we all feel or we have read in Sanskrit literature and everywhere read, and of late recently in English literature and doctors, we all say that our body is made up of Panchamahabhuta, right? 5 particles like that. What all is there? That he already has mentioned. That in Asti, Mamsa, Charma, Nara, Roma. These 5, Ivaidu Prathivindaladhu. Bones, flesh, skin, nerves, and hair are from earth element of earth. The Panchamahabhuta, Prithvi. Prithvi is one of the Panchamahabhuta. So it's made of, these things comes from earth element. Next, Shleshma, Mutra, Pitta, Shukra, Rakta. Ivaidu Appuvinindaladavu. From the water element, what? Mucus, urine, bile, semen, and blood are all coming from the water element. Kshude, Trashne, Nidre, Alasya, Sanga, Ivaidu, Agniindaladavu. Hunger, thirst, sleep, laziness, and companionship are from Agni element. So Agni. Then Pariva, Parva, Suliva, Habbuva, Agaluva, Ivaidu Vayunandadu. Oxygen, fat, air in the veins, force behind sound and force behind digestion is all coming from the air. Right? Then Raga, Dvesha, Bhaya, Lajje, Moha, Ivaidu, Akashadindaladavu. Emotion, hatredness, fear, shame, or love, these are all coming from the sky as an element, as a Panchamahabhuta, one of the Panchamahabhuta. So, Inti Panchamahabhutagalinda Panchavinshati Gunagaladhavu. So he says that these are the basic things which are derived from what? Which are derived from the Panchamahabhuta. Then these are these things. So you can see in Vachana, he clearly mentions that what has come from where. So Channabaswana, amazing thing. Okay. Then in the evolution of life, Shailanka Manchaya, who is a lesser known Sharana. See, normally what happens, we all have studied and read and explain, or we share the vachanas of the known, well known, like Basavanna, Akka Mahadevi, Allama Prabhu. But there are thousands of vachanakars who have written equally good vachanas, or equally you have to feel that vachanas, like one of that is Shailanka Manchaya. So he writes about the evolution, says the evolution, how it's coming. So Sakala Gandhake Vayuve Bija. Bija means origin. You can take it as an origin or the starting point. Sakala Gandhake Vayuve Bija. Air or wind is origin for all the odor. Without that, can you feel, can you smell it, something? If there is no air, you have got a fruit, or you have got a flower, you have got a good food, a dish in front of you. But what is the medium between you and that object is the air, right? Sakala Gandhake Vayuve Bija. That's the origin. Sakala Utpannake Appuve Bija. Soil. Without that soil, soil is needed for all the flora and fauna. Without that, can you grow anything? You can't. Sakala Prakritike Jivave Bija. Life is the base of all livelihood in the nature, right? Livelihood. If you want to get, life should be there, right? Otherwise, it's like is a body, like an object which is like a stone, or like which is not having life. So life is base for all the livelihood. A life born in this web, that means world, will not survive without water. Jaladalli huttida chetana jala ulidu jivisaballode. In those days only they have to water. Without water you can't survive. Any object, any we can say the animal or any plant or anything, for that definitely water is the main. Like, if you see the origin of, the life and all, like, if you see in the Dashavatara also, the first one is the Matsya Avatara, right? Matsya, Kurma, like that is come. So here, if you talk about that in scientific things, they have mentioned in a very simple words. Simple words. Sakala Gandha case. It's the words and the formation of sentences is amazing, like, So then, so they talk about astronomy also. Allama Prabhu, my goodness, he has got that Bayalu, one word, Bayalu, can 100, 200 vachanas are there, and people are still struggling to understand that and explain that, right? So he was a foremost among the genius who explained astronomy in a simple and meaningful way in the language of the people. That's Kannada. It's in Kannada, which everybody can understand. Even now also we can understand. And the way the words they have used, the sentence they have formed is like, it is kind of understandable by all the people. So it's said that, we got around 200 vachanas of, Allama Prabhu, but I was puzzled which one to select, because all are equally good, and due to the time constraint and other things, I have selected only few. So first one of the things which I selected is, he talks about, ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲದ ಬಯಲೊಳಗೊಂದು ಬಗೆಗೊಳಗಾದ ಬಣ್ಣ ತಲೆದೋರಿತ್ತು. ಆ ಬಣ್ಣವು ಆ ಬಯಲ ಶೃಂಗರಿಸಲು ಬಯಲು ಸ್ವರೂಪಗೊಂಡಿತ್ತು. ಅಂತಪ್ಪ ಸ್ವರೂಪಿನ ಬೆಡಗು ತಾನೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುಹೇಶ್ವರ ಲಿಂಗದ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಭಿತ್ತಿ. He talks about the God and the God, the astronomy, how is the God, the universe is formed. When there was nothing in the beginning, there came a light of God in the form of Goheshwara. He called it as Goheshwara, as a light of God, like, and the energy exploded and forming the sky particles. The energy exploded, then forming the sky particles. So he talks about that. If he started explaining in a very high-fi words and all, it would remain difficult for the common people to understand that and take it forward. But he has used certain sentences of the words in such a way that everybody can, understand this. So in one of the other vachanas, he says, Adi Swayambhuvillada Munna, Sanga Nissangavillada Munna, Nakshatra Grahangalillada Munna, Yoga Karanangalillada Munna, Hechara, Bhuchararillada Munna, Araru Illada Munna, Akasha Marutarillada Munna, Ambudi Kamatarillada Munna, Hari Brahmadigalara Nilavillada Munna, Hemakara, Dinakara, Suruhillada Munna, ಹಿಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಮುಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೂ ಇಲ್ಲದ ಮುನ್ನ ಗುಹೇಶ್ವರನಿರ್ದ ತನ್ನ ತಾನರಿಯದಂತೆ. Look at the sentence formation and the words he has used. See, in this vachana, he brings back, brings us the background of the origin of creation. Before the origin of Swayambhu, the stars, the planets, animals, birds, sky, wind, oceans, sun, moon, mountain, etc., Guheshwara was there. There's some form of Shakti was there, that is Goeshwara was there in the form of primordial atom of this creation, but was like objectless, Nirakara. So all Vachanas and everybody talks about the Nirakara, Niranjana, Nirguna. So those things they mention. So that is, in his Vachanas, is very clearly tells about, only thing is we have to understand in such a way that if you just read that, what will happen? It will say just he talks about Goeshwara and about philosophy or about God and other things. But when you go in depth, you will understand what it talks about. And you have to understand and take it forward. Right? And Lord Basaveshwara has given a very wonderful vachana. We all have, read it and heard it many times, right? Jagadagala, Mugi Lagala, Mige Yagala, Nim Magala, Patala Din Datta, Nimma Shri Charana, Brahmanda Din Datta, Nimma Shri Mukuta, Agamya, Agochara, Apratima Lingave, Kodala Sangama Devaya, Yanna Karasthalake Bandu Chudakadiraya. When you see this, yes, you may feel that, it is kind of his greatness of God, of his Shiva, Kodal Sangam he is talking about. But that's not it is for the outer understanding. If you go in depth, the knowledge, what has given is that Jagadagala, Mugilagala, Mige Yagala, Nimagala. See, vast universe. He talks about the vast universe here. He explained the vastness of the world. According to our information, is that, the size of the world. So moon, how far is moon from earth. How far is sun from earth? Is that 384,000 kilometers from earth is a moon, and 18 crore kilometers is sun. So this is the distance. So Jagadagala, he talks about that the stars in the universe are spread randomly at distances of many thousands of light years. This is what Basavana says, said, Mige Yagala Nimmagala. He talks about Kodala Sangama Deva. He is everywhere. So he talks about that, and he continued. The motion universe is incomprehensible, vast beyond our understanding, invisible. So it's said that only 4% of the entire universe of the world we have understood. 96% still we are in the process of understanding. So in those days, only 12th century, of the Vachanakaras, Basavanna has clearly mentioned that is the vastness of the God himself or the universe himself, right? The God is invisible, right? Apratima. One cannot imagine another counterpart to this universe, right? So it's called Apratima. Ishtalinga is considered as the representation of such vast universe. That's the beauty of understanding or explaining what is the Ishtalinga. Ishtalinga is not just an object to worship. Some people say that, oh, you guys say that you don't worship any murtis or any sculptures like that, but you are worshipping Ishtalinga. Yes, Ishtalinga's meaning is beyond our understanding, like in many areas. So here in this Vachana, he says about Brahmanda. This is the form of Brahmanda is in our hands, in the form of God, right? In another Vachana, he says, where everywhere God is there. Have you not heard this Vachana? Many times since our childhood, right? Atyetta nodida datta nine deva, sakala vistarada ruhu nine deva, vishwato chakshu nine deva, vishwato mukha nine deva, vishwato bahu nine deva, vishwato pada nine deva, kodala sangama deva. So he talks about the God, in the kodala sangama deva. He tells everywhere you are there. You are there until my vision can reach. Everywhere you are there, and you are the eyes of this world. You are the face of this world. You are the hands, legs, and body. Everything you are there. You are the form of that. So Kodala Sangama Deva, you are the universe. You are the universe. So it's we have read this, right? We have heard in TVs, in radios and all. But see you have to, if you just read it, it talks about all. He's talking about God and other. But what he tells inside that God, how big or how beyond our imagination God and the creator is that. The creator, you can say. God is a creator in the form of Kodala Sangama Deva, he talks, right? Next, in another one, if you continue about the astronomy only. So here, the Siddharameshwara, and he talks about astronomy and how the world came into existence. Because many people, many scientists, astrologers, everybody, they are still struggling to find out how this earth came into picture, how the universe got formed, how sun came, how moon, how the stars, and all the heavenly bodies, everything. So there, still that study is going on, right? We have got Hubble, that is a telescope is there, and India is also part of that. So we're still struggling to understand. But in those days, he has made it to understand the common people. So what has mentioned is that ಈ ರಚನೆ ಎಂಬುದು structure what has been done now, ಇಮ್ಮಡಿ ಮುಮ್ಮಡಿಯಿಂದ ಆದದ್ದಲ್ಲದೆ ಒಮ್ಮಡಿಯಿಂದ ಆಗದು. ಆದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ, ಅನಾದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೆಂಬುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇತ್ತಲದು ಮಾಯಾಶಕ್ತಿ ಮಾಧವನ ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಮೂಲೋಕ ನಿಮಿರಿತ್ತು ನೋಡ ಕಪಿಲ ಸಿದ್ಧ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನ. So he talks about that, is not from this one at once, at 2 months this thing happened. No, he talks about is a formation. They were not from one, but from many occasions, right? He pointed out the scientific fact that this creation passed through many stages through a big bang and reached its present state. And this is not permanent, which is also not a permanent state, but it is a process of changing. It is changing. He talks about that. Siddharameshwara, in his Vachana, he talks about this, all these things, right? So look at the words he has used. And look at so by looking into this, by using the words Brahma, Anadi and all, people can correlate and understand, right? Then Chinmaya Jnani Channabasavana also explains the creation, how it came. Mahakaladalli ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದ ನೀವೇ ಸ್ವಯಂಭೂವಾಗಿದ್ದೀರಿಯಾ. You are there on your own. One Anantakala, so many years, lakhs of years you are there. ಮಹಾನಂದ ದುಃಖಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಲೀಯವಾಗಿದ್ದುದು ಒಂದು ಅನಂತ ಕೋಟಿ ವರ್ಷ. So to this day, no one knows exactly when the creation period began, right? For a time before Ugama starting, it was Swayambhu on its own. That is, it was just by itself. It is said that for that one moment, the energy hidden in the primordial atom was latent in the womb of time, and the spirit exploded within itself in a sort of movement. So Channabasavana has made it clear in his Vachana that the origin of creation is due to atomic explosion. We all read it, right? In science, we read, for that, people who are told from the Western scientists, they told atomic explosion. We said, yes, it's the correct one. So, but look at, 12th century. At that time, do they have any telescopes with them? Do they have the other things like instrument to find out them? But they have mentioned here. The Western scientists, they have found all the instruments and other things when? 14th century, 15th century, right? Before that, our people, and before that also, in India, people have written. I'm not saying that they're the first time, but they have written in this Sanskrit language, right? It was limited to certain people. But in 12th century, they have, don't be under the impression that, they don't know the Sanskrit and all. Yes, many of them were Sanskrit scholars. They understood it, and they wrote Vachanas in such a way that whatever they have understood or whatever is there in the scripture, it has to be reached to the common people with these kind of the sentence formation, right? So look at that. Then see, we talked about astronomy, this origin of life in particles and all. And let's take one or two Vachanas of different areas, like, so we have not heard this wonderful Vachana by Lord Basaveshwara. And many people sang it, with the musical instruments used and all, right? Bhakti ಎಂಬ ಪೃಥ್ವಿಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಗುರುವೆಂಬ ಬೀಜವಂಕುರಿಸಿ ಲಿಂಗವೆಂಬ ಎಲೆಯಾಯಿತ್ತು, ಲಿಂಗವೆಂಬ ಎಲೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ವಿಚಾರವೆಂಬ ಹೂವಾಯಿತ್ತು, ಆಚಾರವೆಂಬ ಕಾಯಾಯಿತ್ತು, ನಿಷ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಎಂಬ ಹಣ್ಣು ತೊಟ್ಟು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕಳಚಿ ಬೀಳುವಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡಲ ಸಂಗಮ ದೇವ ತನಗೆ ಬೇಕೆಂದು ಎತ್ತಿಕೊಂಡ. Before, but digging into this one, my understanding was that, it talks about Basavana himself. It's like that, he came into existence, he came to this Mother Earth, and he has started the movement, and, he has gathered many Vachankars, and at the end, is that God himself has picked him up. That is the plain outside understanding. But look at the botany or the agriculture behind it. See, good quality seed should be sown in a fertile land, fertile soil, and nurtured properly, right? Bhakti emba prithvi mele guru emba bijam kurses. Then if the soil is good, fertile, then if the watering is good, and the seed can be sowed, and you can get a good crop, then they sprout, become sapling, leaves, flowers, and nuts and fruits. So Basavana spoke about science of plants, that is botany, while talking about the achievements of sadhaka's meaningful life. Here, outside what you feel is that, it's about himself he's talking. No, he's not talking about himself. He talks about the botany of the agriculture here. If you got a good soil, the watering is there, then a good, the air is around good is there, and sunlight is there, then you can get a good the fruits and fruits like that, the fruits and flowers like that. So then, if that is that, then see, if you got a good flowers or a good fruit, then only you pluck it, right? Otherwise you don't do. That's what Nishpatti ಎಂಬ ಹಣ್ಣು ತೊಟ್ಟು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕಳಚಿ ಬೀಳುವಲ್ಲಿ. It was about to fall, and ಕೂಡಲ ಸಂಗಮ ದೇವ ತನಗೆ ಬೇಕೆಂದು ಎತ್ತಿಕೊಂಡ. That means you can imagine yourself into that position, that you are picking up the good things. So that he says like that, right? Then about geology, if you see Vachanas, I'm trying to correlate that into the science and technologies in our modern days, right? Akka Mahadevi, Veera Vairagya Nidhi Akka Mahadevi, she says, Giriyalallade Hullu Morodiyalladuvade. She talks about habitats of birds and insects, right? Peacocks live in a place where there are trees, shrubs instead of barren land, correct? Hullu Morodiyalladuvade. ಕೊಳಕ್ಕಲ್ಲದೆ ಕಿರುವಳ್ಳ ಕೆಳಸುವುದೇ ಹಂಸೆ. The swan, that it live in a pond, a bigger pond, right? Then it will not go to a smaller pool where the water body is, right? Then ಮಾಮರ ತಳಿ ತಲ್ಲದೆ ಸರಗೈಯುವುದೇ ಕೋಗಿಲೆ. The cuckoo likes to stay with mango trees than other trees, right? Then ಪರಿಮಳವಿಲ್ಲದ ಪುಷ್ಪ ಕೆಳಸುವುದೇ ಭ್ರಮರ. Bees gets attracted by flowers which have aroma or fragrance than others, right? If there are no fragrance, can you imagine that bees are going to those flowers? No. ಎನ್ನ ದೇವ ಚೆನ್ನ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನಂಗಲ್ಲದೆ ಅಣ್ಣೆ ಕೆಳಸುವುದೇ ಎನ್ನ ಮನ ಪೇಳೆರೆ ಕೆಳದಿಯರಿರ. So when you talk about this outside, if you read that she is talking about the god, Channa Mallikarjuna, that she wants to be with him, or she wants to worship him, or always be with him, or God has to be with her. But see the hidden meaning of that. He talks about geology here, or the habitats of the birds and insects. You have to look little bit deeper, then you can start getting the understandings of this, right? Then then about food science, food science also, it's a food science. They talk, Allama says, madda nambikondade roga manadippude sajjane kiyolode ಪ್ರಸಾದ ಕಾಯ ಕೆಡುವುದೇ, ಪ್ರಾಣಲಿಂಗವಾದಡೆ ಪ್ರಾಣ ಬೇರಪ್ಪುದೆ, ಪ್ರಾಣಲಿಂಗ ಪ್ರಸಾದವನ್ನು ತಿಳಿದು ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರಿ, ನಾದಬಿಂದು ಸೂಸದ ಮುನ್ನ ಆದಿಯ ಪ್ರಸಾದವ ಭೇದಿಸಿಕೊಂಡರು ಗುಹೇಶ್ವರ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಶರಣರು. If you look at this, then they're talking about the food science here, madda namikadu. One should have the faith in the treatment of given by the doctor, right? You should have the faith, then whatever the medicine he or she is giving to you, it will be working. Right? He's not talking about the modern days doctors, like they are for the smallest of your ailment and all, they will charge heavily. It's not like that. But here what he talks about is pure. The doctor should also be true to his profession. Then you have to believe him. You have to have the faith in him. So then it is this with the body, prasada kaya they call it as. It's a righteous body. It can't be spoiled. You have to have the good thoughts in you, so that you can be, then the treatment also can be given. And the food what you take should be a good one, a prasada they call it. It's good food only you should take. They talk about this. Allama Prabhu, along with the proper treatment, mental health is also important, says Allama. And about the dietitian, like dieting and all, Akka Mahadevi said about mitahara, limited food intake. Aharava kiridu madirana. You have to reduce intake of food, right? Aharava kiridu madi. Aharadim vyadi habbi bali udaya. Ahara, if you take more food, or the unwanted food, or the heavy meals and all, because of that, all these ailments will start, right? Aharadim nidre. ನಿದ್ರೆಯಂ ತಾಮಸ ಅಜ್ಞಾನ ಮೈಮರಹು. ಅಜ್ಞಾನದಿಂದ ಕಾಮ ವಿಕಾರ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿ ಕಾಯ ವಿಕಾರ, ಮನೋವಿಕಾರ, ಇಂದ್ರಿಯ ವಿಕಾರ, ಭಾವ ವಿಕಾರ, ವಾಯು ವಿಕಾರವನ್ನು ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡಿ. So the vikara is kind of a diseases, kind of, you can say. Kaya vikara means is the ailment for the body, right? Manovikara, you will get the issues with your mind. The indriya vikara, panchendriya, any panchendriya can get affected because of this heavy food. Or bhava vikara, if you have our feelings will get disturbed. If you get a good food, if you get a tamasic food, then your bhava vikara definitely will happen, right? Vayu vikara, the gas formation and gaseous things, it all depends on the intake of food. She talked about all these things. Srishtige tahudada karana kayada ati poshana beda. Too much having food, or too much covering, you have to cover that, or you have to feed that is not good. Ati poshane mrityu endadu. Japa tapa dhyana dharana poojege shukshmadin tanu ಮಾತ್ರವಿದ್ದರೆ ಸಾಲದು, ತನುವ ಪೋಷಿಸುವ ಆಸೆ ಯತಿತ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಘ್ನವೆಂದುದು. ತನು ಪೋಷಣೆಯಿಂದ ತಾಮಸ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿ ಅಜ್ಞಾನಾದಿಂ ವಿರಕ್ತಿ ಹಾನಿ ಅರಿವು ನಷ್ಟ, ಪರವು ದೂರ, ನೆರಕೆ ನಿಲವಿಲ್ಲದ ಕಾರಣ ಚೆಲ್ಲ ಮಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಬಂದ ಕಾಯವ ಕೆಡಿಸದೆ ಉಳಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿರಯ್ಯ. Have moderate food intake. She talks about that. Overeating is the cause of all the illness. She talks about that. So this is kind of, is the prescription, the diet prescription. Like, even doctors also say nowadays, right? Nowadays, dietitians, separate doctors are there for that. What to eat and what not to eat, when to eat, when not to eat, and all. See, simple words she has told that, if you reduce your food intake and you take in a good quantity or the appropriate quantity, all these things, vikaras, all these problems will not come. So she has told in those days only. I think we have read it many times, but we have to put our efforts in understanding that and following it. So that's the thing. Okay. Then let's move on to another topic, the textile technology. Nowadays, there is an engineering subject, right? Is a branch itself is textile technology. And in that one, there's many, 4-year studies, and the MTech also you can do and all. And at that time, the Devarada Asimaya, in one of his vachanas, he's talked about Unkeya Niguchi, Sarigeya Samagolisi, Samagala Nikki, Aniyala Muttade, Hidida, Lalia Mullu, Kandikeya Nungittu, E Siereya Nedava, Nano Nino Ramanata. So here he talks about the vachana, is talking about the standard operating procedure, about the policies of weaving, how the weaving has to happen, the textile technology can be done. So he talks about this in this vachan, Devaradasimaya. And one more thing, we have to observe that the many vachanakaras, Sharanas, they have written their vachanas, the vachanas related to their kayakas, their professions. Right? Devaradasimaya profession was weaving, is a weaver. So he talks about his profession, and he talks about that, and he's putting a standard operating procedures here. Similarly, if you take any kind of other, Ambigara Chaudaya, we saw one of the vachanas, and then Dohara Kakaya, if you can take, and Madivada Machideva. So all these vachanakars have written vachanas in a very simple language, Kannada. They try to explain their profession. Along with that, they try to explain God and how to reach God, what to be done, all through their kayaka. That is the profession, their activities, what they do. They have not left their activities doing, right? By doing their activities, every time they are mentioned, but what is that? And here is a classic example of the textile technology, right? Then, of course, the agriculture is one of the oldest profession. Without agriculture or without employing the land and all, we can't live in the earth at all, right? So Okkaliga Muddana his vachanas are very few vachanas he has written, or at least we got them, came into the light, that he has written. Here he talks about how to, is like agriculture, the vachana describes ಪೂರ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ತಾಳಾಗಿ ಉತ್ತರಕ್ಕೆ ತಲಹ ಬಿದ್ದ ಮರಣ ತಂದು ನಿಬುದ್ಧಿಯ ಕಾರಕನ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಬುದ್ಧಿಸಿ ಶುದ್ಧೈಸಿ ಅನಾದಿ ಎಂಬ ಹುಗಿಲು ತೆಗೆದು ಆದಿ ಎಂಬ ಈಯವ ನೆಕ್ಕಿ ಇಷ್ಟವೆಂಬ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸದ ಮೇಳಿಯಂ ಬೆಟ್ಟಿ. Here he talks about, describes about selection of wood to make ನೇಗಿಲು plow. Then get it carved by the carpenter with the help of bullocks, start plowing the land. In turn, Vachana explains about the agriculture, right? Sadbhava ಎಂಬ ಗುಳುವ ತೋಡಿಸಿ ಸತ್ಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಎಂಬ ಕಣ್ಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೇಗಿಲ ತೊಡಚಿ, ಯಾವಟು ನೇಗಿಲ ತೊಡಚಿ, ಜ್ಞಾನ ಚಕ್ಷು ಎಂಬ ನೊಗದ ಉಭಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಡಗೋಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರಿಯ ಹೂಡಿ ಬಲಗೋಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳ್ಳಿಯ ಹೂಡಿ. So he talks about two bullocks here, right? ಅಡಿ ಕೆತ್ತುವಂತೆ ಧಾಯ್ ಎಂದು ಹೊಡೆಯಲಾಗಿ ಭೂಮಿಯೊಡಗೂಡಿ ಸವೆಯಿತ್ತು ಬಿತ್ತ ಒಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ದಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ ಖಾಮ ಭೀಮ ಜೀವನದೊಡೆಯ ನೀನೇ ಬಲ್ಲೆ. So here he talks about agriculture, simple words he has mentioned, because by doing his kayaka, he tried to explain what is kind of agriculture, starting from, a negilu, the plowing the land, and how to make forming the, creating or making ready the plow, and then use that to plow the land with support of bullocks like that. He talks about agriculture in this one. Then agriculture and irrigation are, like two faces of one coin, right? Without irrigation, or irrigation is not only through, from the rivers and all, even you can store the water from the rain also, and in a pond like that. From there you can take the water whenever you need. At that time, his irrigation things he mentioned, ಪೈರಿಗೆ ನೀರು ಬೇಕೆಂಬಲ್ಲಿ ಉಚಿತವನ್ನು ಅರಿದು ಬಿಡಬೇಕು. When you talk about, the requirement of water in your land, it is that, requirement should be need based, not like just water is there, then allow it to flow. No. ಕ್ರಿಯೆಗೆ ಅರಿವು ಬೇಕೆಂಬಲ್ಲಿ ಉಭಯನ ಅರಿದು ಘಟಿಸಬೇಕು. He talks about irrigation in this vachana. ಬೆಳೆಯ ಕೊಯ್ದ, then he simply it is, you have to use it what is the need, based on the requirement. You have to conserve the water, he talks about, right? And then the water has to be supplied as based on the need. Then ಬೆಳೆಯ ಕೊಯ್ದ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೊಲಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾವಲುಂಟೆ. He talks about his agriculture and the irrigation. When you take the crop from the land, do you want to, guard it? It's not required. He talks about that. But in those days, the people used to guard the land or the soil, where if there is the crop is there, still you have to cut it. At that time they used to law. Otherwise they never used to it. But nowadays is a different story altogether. But at that time, see, he's agriculturist, right? ಒಕ್ಕಲಿಗ. And he talks about this ಫಲವ ಹೊತ್ತ ಪೈರಿನಂತೆ ಪೈರಿನೊಳಗೊಂಡ ಫಲದಂತೆ ಅರಿವು ಆಚರಣೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಿಂದು. It's like, the crop, if the crop is taken out, don't give any security to the land. That's what in those days were there, and he talks about that, right? Then let's quickly move on to the chemistry. So we can quote one vachana from Siddharameshwara. Siddharameshwara is, it talks about it. Here, it may not be like, directly written about chemistry or the formulas and all, organic chemistry, inorganic. No. What he talks about here, ವೇಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಕ್ತನಾದಡೇನು, ವೇಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಹೇಶನಾದಡೇನು, ಗುಣವಿಲ್ಲದನ್ನಕರ. He talks about a person, if he's wearing an ornament or a dress like a Swamiji, right? Or he's a bhakta and he's wearing a dress like a Swamiji, like that. But even he is wearing a costume of a Swamiji, if he is not having a proper, mindset or a proper, things or the behaviors, then what is use? He talks about ಕ್ಷೀರಕ್ಕೂ ತಕ್ರಕ್ಕೂ ಭೇದವೇನುಂಟು, ರುಚಿಯಿಂದಲ್ಲದೆ ರೂಪದಿಂದವೇ ಕಪಿಲ ಸಿದ್ಧ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನ. See, the example he is given, the chemical properties of the object or the things. What is them? One will get to know the difference when it's tested, right? Kshira, takra. Kshira is halu, there's milk. Takra is buttermilk, right? Both, if you see from the outside, or they both may look same color, but without, testing it or tasting it, you'll not come to know that what is milk and what is buttermilk, right? So only liquid status of two materials are not enough to define their chemical characters is being taught. In this vachana, he talks about chemistry. We have to read, we have to understand, and we have to go a little bit deeper so that, you can get the inner meaning of their saying. May not be, when he wrote that vachana, may not be thinking that it will be related to chemistry. No, but when you go and start understanding it, reading it once again and again and understanding it, so what will happen? You start getting many inner meanings about this vachana, right? And see, Siddhalinga Shivayogi, so he has written the environment crisis and all like that, and now what we are facing. So in those days only it's written, ಭೂಮಿಯ ಮೇಲನ ಅಗ್ನಿ ಆಕಾಶವ ನೆರೆದಡೆ, ಆಕಾಶದ ಜಲ ಉಕ್ಕಿ ಭೂಮಿಯೆಲ್ಲ ಜಲಮಯವಾಯಿತು. ಅಲ್ಲಿದ್ದವರೆಲ್ಲ ಅಮೃತಮಯವಾಗಿ ಮಹಾಲಿಂಗ ಸೇವೆಯ ಮಾಡಿ ಪ್ರಸಾದವ ಪಡೆದು ನಿಜ ಗುರು ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಸಿದ್ಧಲಿಂಗೇಶ್ವರನೊಡನೆ ಲಿಂಗಲೀಯವಾದರು. If you see, outside, if you see, it talks about the water cycle. If you see a water cycle environment, so see, water gets heated up and goes up in the form, it forms the cloud, and then when the clouds comes into contact with the colder environment, then it starts raining, right? We all studied this cycle of water in our high school days and all. We have studied it, right? And this is what in Vachanas he says. So Vachanas are there. The Vachanas are for different areas people have written, and they may not have at that time, they may not have their understanding or the intention of their writing these Vachanas will not be related to this science and technology. But when we start looking into it, right, then definitely we will understand that what is the inner being of that, right? Then the environment things, and Lord Basavanna says in 12th century, Vale hatti we heard it, right? Vale hatti uridade nilalಬಹುದಲ್ಲದೆ ಧರೆ ಹತ್ತಿ ಉರಿದಡೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಬಹುದು ಬಾರದು. See, you see earlier, now is a gas stove and all, but earlier it is only the wood fire, right? Wood fire, right? It fireplace at home, which is used to cooking food, right? You can control that. But when the entire earth or some part of the earth starts burning or gets fire, can you control it? Like here he talks about the wildfire, right? Eri Nirumbode, he talks about Eri. Eri means the reservoir. The reservoir itself, it starts drinking water. What you will do? Beli Kayameyode, the fence. If the fence starts eating the food or the consuming the food or the crops, who will? Naritanna manele kalode. The woman, if lady starts staying in her own home, whom you complain, like Taya Molavalu Nanjagi Kolvade. Mark this sentence. Very, very important things here. Taya Molavalu. If you see that, hey, how it can be possible? Yeah, people can say that. But nowadays, the lot of the chemicals are there in our land, in our soil, a lot of chemicals in the air, a lot of chemicals in water. Everything is going into the soil, and we are growing the crops, and the crops are contaminated, right? Many things. Without the pesticides and all, we're unable to grow anything. Nowadays, that the organic things are coming up. But look at the understanding. See, Taya Molavalu Nanjagi Kolvade. He is ultimate, the end thing only he is talking about. If it will never happen, right? The thing is that, breastfeeding, if that milk itself is contaminated, is not good to use, then whom you will blame? That Basavanna asks, whom you will blame if all these things happen, like breast milk, right? Innarige Doruve Kodala Sangamadev, he talks about that. And now we feel that whatever he has mentioned in 12th century itself is coming kind of a true, right? Wildfire, many places is a man-made or the nature one. A lot of wildfires are getting throughout the world, like because the global warming is happening and we are losing a lot of forests. So that has already told in this. And then Taya Molavalu, see, because the chemical, even plastics are entering into our body, like through salt, this plastic is entering into our body. Then we may say that, no, I don't use any plastic and I use only the metal objects and all. But still, see, it has reached the usage of plastic and misuse of plastic has reached such a stage that it has reached the all in sea. Through fish it's coming back to us, and through salt it's coming back to us. So in those days, that's what the contamination things he has told in his Vachana. You have to just read, it's just deeper understanding is required, right? So there are many topics. There are many topics we can keep on talking about that, and we can understanding. And I just want to, I try to peep into the large, is a vast Vachanakaras and Vachanas. In this one, I try to cover few areas, right? To best of knowledge and understanding, I have collected them. There are many more science and technology related Vachanas hidden in the precious wealth of Vachana Sahitya. Okay. So my sincere thanks to Mr. Vijay Kumar Kammar of Vachana Mandara Vedike, who made me to work on this topic and present before you. And my thanks must be given to a book compiled by Dr. M.S. Jogad and Dr. S.S. Patil's The Science Work of Vachanas, which enabled me, to collect material in this endeavor. I would like to pay my respects to Mr. Harish Hiremat and all the office bearers of Virashiva Samaj of North America for giving me an opportunity to present my topic here. And there is one slide which I need to show. I don't know, my presentation has, let me share the one slide, sir,
Please
so that
continue.
you can take it back. So
You can-
this is important one, before I say bye. No.
Yeah, we are seeing the slide.
Okay, let's do search for vachanas in books, internet, etc. Highlight them whenever, wherever required. Arrange them for use and reuse. Read as many as vachanas possible. Acknowledge the meaning of the vachanas. Narrate them to known people and understand them well. Sharanu. It is our wealth. We are born in that religion, and we have to be proud of that, and we have to use the vachanas wherever possible, understand that, and tell others that there is a wealth of knowledge is available with us. We have not looked into it, and I request all to look into it and understand it, or discuss with the learned people, so that we can revisit those vachanas and bring them to light. Thank you very much.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಅವರೇ. ಬಹಳ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಇತ್ತು. ನಾವು ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ. ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ವಚನಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಭಕ್ತಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೇರೊಂದು ಭಾವನೆಗಳು ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ವಚನಗಳು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ಆತರ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿರೋ ಒಂದು ವಚನಗಳನ್ನ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಆಂಗಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು ನಾವು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನೀವು ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ರಿ. ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯದ ವಚನಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಒಂದು ಆಂಗಲ್ ನೀವು ವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕವಾಗಿ ಹಿಂಗ್ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು ಇರೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನೀವು ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ರಿ. ಇಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 2-3 ನಿಮಿಷ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಲ್ಲಿವ್ರನ್ನ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡೋಣ. ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ರು ನೀವು ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ನೀವು ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವರ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಂಗ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ. ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ವಚನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಇರುವಂತ ಶರಣರು, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತ ಶರಣರು, ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋರು ಒಬ್ರಿಗೊಬ್ರಿಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಆ ಒಂದು ಸಜ್ಜನರ ಒಂದು ಸಹವಾಸದಿಂದ ಒಬ್ರಿಗೊಬ್ರಿಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಒಂದು ಬಸವ ತತ್ವ ವಚನ ಸಾರಗಳನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಹಂಚುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ದೊರಕಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಭಾವನೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ನೀವು ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಪಣ್ಣ ನಿಮ್ದೇನಾದ್ರು ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಇವರು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ವಿಷಯವಾಗಿ. ನಮಗೆ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ meaning of the vachanas in other aspect, how you interpret them and how you can understand it. This was really good, because I just read the vachanas all the time, but that's not enough. But when you whoever like Prakash Rajagoli studied them and classified them, these vachanas, and made it very meaningful. It was really nice. I really liked it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
ಮಹೇಶ್ ಸಿದ್ದಪ್ಪನವರೇ, ನೀವು? ಮಹೇಶ್ ಸಿದ್ದಪ್ಪನವರು ನಮ್ಮ ನಾರ್ದರ್ನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲಿಫೋರ್ನಿಯಾ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅವರು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಈ ವಚನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಡ್ರಾಮಾಗಳನ್ನ ಅವರ ಭಾರ್ಯೆಯಾದ ವಸಂತ ಸಿದ್ದಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಅವರು ಎಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಜ್ಞಾತ ಶರಣರು, ನುಲಿಯ ಚಂದಯ್ಯ, ಅವ್ರ ಹೆಸರುಗಳೇ ಕೇಳಿರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತದೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಡ್ರಾಮಾಗಳನ್ನ ಬರೆದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಮಕ್ಕಳುಗಳಿಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹೇಳಿ ಮಹೇಶ್ ಅವರೇ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರಿ. ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್, ದ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ವಚನಾಸ್ ಅದಿದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಓದಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ರಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್. ಲಿಂಗು ವಿಷಯ ಏನಾದ್ರು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಲಿಂಗು ಒಳಗೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸು, ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅನ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್, ಆ ಥರ ಏನಾದ್ರು ನೀವು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ I would be happy to hear that also.
ಸರ್, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಆಳದ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ನಾನು ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ನುರಿತವರಿಂದನೇ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ ಸರ್.
ಸರಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು.
ನಂತರ ಕಮಾರ್ ಅವರೇ. ಪುಷ್ಪ ಶಾಲವಾಡಿ ಮಠ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಪುಷ್ಪ ಯಶ್. ಓಕೆ, ಕಮಾರ್ ಅವರೇ. ನಾನು ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ರೈಟ್, ಓಕೆ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಬಹಳ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಿತ್ರರು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು. ನಮ್ಮ ವಚನ ಹೊಂದಾಣಿಕೆ ಒಂದು ಹೆಮ್ಮೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಇವತ್ತು. ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಡಿಷನ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ವಚನವನ್ನ ನಾನಿಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಕ್ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಈಗ ಹಣ್ಣುಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹಣ್ಣು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಕಾಯಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಲ್ಲಂಪ್ರಭುಗಳು ಒಂದು ವಚನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಒತ್ತಿ ಹಣ್ಣ ಮಾಡಿದಡೆ ಅದೆತ್ತಣ ರುಚಿಯಪ್ಪುದು, ಕಾಮಿಸಿ ಕಲ್ಪಿಸಿ ಭಾವಿಸದಡೆ ಅದೇ ಭಂಗ, ಭಾವಿಸುವ ಭಾವನೆಗಿಂತ ಸಾವುದೇ ಲೇಸು ಕಾಣ ಗುಹೇಶ್ವರ ಅಂತ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಸವಾದಿಶರಣರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಟಚ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅನ್ನತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಷಯ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸುಮಾರು 18 ವಚನಗಳನ್ನ ಕೋಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ವಚನಗಳಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನವನ್ನ ನಮಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ ರಾಜಗೋಳಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು, ಶರಣಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೋತ್ಸಾಹ ಮತ್ತು ಒತ್ತಾಸೆ ಸರ್.
ಇದು ಬಸವರಾಜ್ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ರೀ, ತಾವೆಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಬಸವರಾಜ್ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ರು? ಓಕೆ,
ಹಲೋ,
ಬನ್ನಿ ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಬನ್ನಿ ಸರ್.
ಹಲೋ. ನಾನು ಬಸವರಾಜ್ ಪಾಟೀಲ್. ನಾನು ಧಾರವಾಡದಲ್ಲಿರೋದು,
ಹಾ,
ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಹಳ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಜಾಯ್ನ್.
ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಯ್ತು. ಪುಷ್ಪ ಅವರೇ, ವಿಜಯ್ ಅವರೇ, ಪುಷ್ಪ ಎಷ್ಟಂದ್ರೆ ಶಾಮಡಿ ಮಠ ಅವ್ರೆ? ನೋಡಿ, ಮತ್ತೇನಾದರೂ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಮುಗಿಸೋಣ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸಲ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ನಮ್ಮ ವೀರಶೈವ ಸಮಾಜ ವಿಚಾರ ವೇದಿಕೆ
ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಪುಷ್ಪ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು.
ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅಲೋ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಯಾರು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬಹುದು. ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ
ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅವ್ರದ್ದು.
ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ
ಇನ್ನು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಕುಸುಮ ಅವರೇ, ನೀವು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವ್ದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ರಾಜಗೋಳಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ವೀರಶೈವ ಸಮಾಜದ ವಿಚಾರ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಕೃತಜ್ಞತೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತಾ ತಡೀರಿ, ಗುರು ಪೇಡಿ ಅವರನ್ನ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ನೋಡಿ. ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಗುಕು ಅವರೇ. ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ನೋಡಿ? ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರಿ? ಮತ್ತೆ
ಮಾಡಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಕೇಳಿಸಿದ್ರ?
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
ಓಕೆ, ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಗುರುರಾಜ್ ಕುಲಕರ್ಣಿ ಅಂತ. ನಾನು ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜಗೋಳಿ ಅವರ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು. ನನಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ರಾಜಗೋಳಿ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡಿದಾಗ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನನಗೂ ಇದು ಒಂಥರ ಹೊಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟೇ ಒಂಥರ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೆ. ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ವಚನಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಸಂವಾದಿಯಾಗಿ ಯಾವ ತರ ಇರತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿ ಬಹಳ ನನಗೆ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯ್ತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಹೊಸದೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನನಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮನವರಿಕೆ ಆಯ್ತು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಜನಾಂಗದಿಂದ ಹಿಂದೆನೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು. ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನ ಸುಮ್ನೆ ಏನಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇವಾಗ ಶೋಧನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಮನವರಿಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಿದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅದು ಒಂದ್ ನನಗೆ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯ್ತು ಇವತ್ತು ಕೇಳಿ, ಹಳೇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
15 ಮಂದಿ ಇದ್ರಂತ. 15 ಮಂದಿ ಅದ.
ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಬನ್ನಿ ಅಮ್ಮ.
ಮಂದಿ ಇರ್ಬೇಕಾಯ್ತು.
ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬನ್ನಿ.
ರಾಜ್ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಫಾರಿನ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಆಕ್ಕಾರಂತ.
ಹೇಳಿ ಅಮ್ಮ. ಕುಸುಮಾರಿ, ನೀವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
ಸರ್,
ಓಕೆ, ಇಷ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಯ್ತು. ಇನ್ನೊಮ್ಮೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನನಗೆ ಬ್ರೀಫ್ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ವಿಲ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಯು.
6 ರಿಂದ 7.
ಓಕೆ,
ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ.